All right, let's move on to New Orleans at San Francisco. I feel like I haven't seen the 49ers play in years.
Yeah. Yep.
I feel like it's been so long.
Because we didn't watch them play the Rams in Week 17. That wasn't worth watching.
Exactly. And they locked it up there. Actually, when they locked it up, that was what allowed New Orleans to just sort of slip down, and why this game is going to be in San Fran. So, Adam, start us off. Key offensive matchup for New Orleans.
I think it's the same as last week. It's arguably their biggest weapon, Jimmy Graham, but I'm also going to add Darren Sproles in the mix. And the real key guys for San Francisco to stop them are their inside linebackers. I'm talking about Patrick Willis and Navarro Bowman as well. That's the best group of inside linebackers in the league, bar none. And they're probably the only guys that could probably stop this group of players from New Orleans. They're going to be the guys that probably the first option Breeze is going to look for. But we've seen with New Orleans how good they are at spreading the ball around. But also to keep in mind here, how the difference between New Orleans is indoors and outdoors. This year, in dome stadiums, they've averaged 38 points a game. They've only played 5 outdoor games this year. They're 3-2 in those games, and they've only averaged 24 points a game. You also think about New Orleans hasn't played an outdoor game in over a month. They played in Tennessee on December 11th. So think about that, and also playing against a really, really good San Francisco defense if we're going to see any change coming from this New Orleans offense.
I agree with Adam. I had my key matchup is Patrick Willis, his ability to cover Jimmy Graham in the passing game. These guys, two physically gifted dudes going at it. Since he already said that, let's go with Justin Smith. Any pressure you can get on Drew Brees is a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And A-Raz, how about the other side of the ball, defensive matchup for New Orleans? What do they have to look out for?
I think it's not more of an individual player. I think it's more of a scheming thing. We all know Greg Williams, the Saints defensive coordinator, is the ultimate blitz-happy defensive coordinator in the league. And you've also got a 49ers offensive line that's shoddy at best, especially on the right side of the line. So look at way Saints' best pass rusher, Will Smith's going to line up. Williams is going to be doing a lot of different schemes to really put pressure on Alex Smith. So it's how well New Orleans can pressure Alex Smith and force him into uncomfortable throws and uncomfortable situations. That might dictate the way that the game's played and the tempo is for their defense.
And for San Francisco on offense?
Frank Gore against the New Orleans run defense. Now, this run defense allowed 5 yards per carry. That was 29th in the league. You could run on this defense, and maybe that's what the Lions' game plan was last week. We both noticed they were running the ball probably more than we thought they would. They look at this New Orleans run defense, and, it's not very good. And that happens to be what San Francisco wants to establish anyway. That's their offense. If Alex Smith is going to do anything, it's going to be off play action. It's going to be because of the threat of the run.
Yeah, and once again, I think that the San Francisco offensive line is going to have to step up because they haven't been that good this year. It may be the worst part of that team. In fact, that might be where you go in the draft next year, especially since we're saying that Alex Smith is probably going to be the guy again. He may be the guy there for a while as long as Jim Harbaugh is coaching that team. You've got to get that offensive line shored up. But for this game, it's very, very important to use the guys you have and create a wall in front of him because he doesn't get the ball out as quickly as some better quarterbacks, like a Drew Brees. Turnovers are huge. You can't, I think that we would all agree that New Orleans is the favorite in this game. I wouldn't be surprised if we all pick New Orleans. I think this game is going to be much, much, much closer than we think it's going to be. Last time that Drew Brees played outdoors, as you said, in Tennessee, that was a tight game against the Titans. The 49ers are a way better team than the Tennessee Titans are. They're a much better team. Drew Brees is 0-2 on the road in playoffs, and that kind of feeds into that. I think that he might have a hard time. But again, the 49ers are a very sound team, and they play a different style, and that is what might allow this game to be close.
Plus 28 turnover differential as well.
Best in the league.
Yeah, by far.
It's the best in the league.
Another thing by far best in the league.
That's what I mean by sound.
15 yards is the difference between them and the second best run defense in the league. They allowed 77 yards rushing per game. The next closest was like 97. So that's a big difference as they have. You want to see the ultimate, here's what we do well against two forces. the unstoppable force against the immovable object type thing.
Mm-hmm.
49ers allowed 14.3 points per game. The Saints scored 34 points per game. That's a 20-point difference. They're going to meet somewhere in the middle. Is one going to win? Is one going to lose? Who knows? 49ers, along with the turnover differential, turn people over 38 times to go along with only 10 turnovers. So they're going to secure the ball. They have the best punter in the league. They have a kicker who kicked the most field goals ever in the league. So you look at that game, and that's what they're trying to do. They're going to punt the ball. They're going to put you in bad situations. They're going to stop you. All they need to do is pick up 20 yards and get in a David Akers field goal range. A guy who's also used to kicking outdoors, maybe the Saints won't be able to do that as well. It's Casey kicking for them. So that's one thing you got to consider as well. The Saints seem to be trying to establish a running game as well in the playoffs. They run the ball effectively.
More than trying. Yeah. I mean, they were amazing
They were the number 6 run team or rushing team in the NFL this year, and that's not what you think of when you think of the passing, but
they put up all that offense. Gone.
Absolutely. But you look at their home and road splits, which I did, and their running effectiveness changes quite a bit on the road. They ran for 525 more yards at home this year than on the road. That's quite a bit. So we'll see if that affects them, especially going against the best run defense by far in the league. If they abandon that, if they, still try to run against this team, we'll see what happens.
I don't know if they can be successful without that running game. I mean, maybe. Mm-hmm. Can they pull a Patriots?
But I'm not sure if they can be successful in the running game against this team.
Well, that's outdoors. What I mean. What I'm saying is if Sproles and Ivory and Pierre Thomas can't do what they do, can the Saints offense work as a one-dimensional team? I think the answer is yes in general, but against the 49ers, maybe not, especially with the 49ers playing so sound and giving themselves opportunities. But what I have to ask myself is, once you get those opportunities, can you turn those opportunities into touchdowns? Because we all know that the 49ers are not very good at turning opportunities into touchdowns rather than field goals.
Yeah. Special teams, the 49ers are great as well, but they both have good playmakers in the return game. Sproles against Ted Ginn Jr. This is a middle-of-the-road team against the pass, which, of course, the Saints do better than anyone. But, of course, a lot of those numbers come from being behind, having no success running the ball. You attempt a lot of passes. That skews the statistics. But they were right in the middle of the league as far as pass defense.
Hey, Roz, who do you like in this one?
I'll give you another number here about New Orleans. All time as a franchise, they're 0-3 on the road in the playoffs. And also, like I mentioned earlier, their margin of victory on outdoor stadiums this year has been 1.5 points. But having said that, Saints are going to win this game 20-17. I just think Drew Brees is just a little bit that much better than Alex Smith, even in the outdoors.
Tad?
I'm going to say that the 49ers figure out a way to slow down this offense and get enough points, maybe get an interception return, maybe get a fumble return or a special teams touchdown. They keep pinning the Saints back. The Saints are ineffective in running the ball, and it'll be a very close 24-21 win for the 49ers.
For the 49ers?
Yes.
I'm with A-Roz on this one. I like that we all think that it's going to be a close game hovering around 20, because I was a little worried that we would all say that it was going to be a huge blowout for New Orleans. I don't think it's going to be that at all. I think this is going to be a gritty win for New Orleans. I think it's going to be just about the same thing, about 20-17 and a very gritty win. I don't know what Vegas is saying about this, but I would not be at all surprised if it turns out in this 24-21 49. I mean, they can win this game.
Absolutely.
And I have to tell you, to be honest, as a Giants fan, I would much rather, if somehow the Giants pull off a Packers win, I would rather play the 49ers in San Francisco than play the Saints in New Orleans.
Absolutely.
So that could change astronomically the way the NFC could look if we have a couple of upsets here. But I am going to go with New Orleans here. Just like you said, a 3-point game up in the 20s. This is going to be a fun one.
No doubt.
This is going to be a lot of fun.
No doubt. And I could be wrong. I think either San Francisco wins by that score or the Saints win by 20, honestly. I could see either option happening.
It could happen. They're just so different outside the Superdome.
Yeah.